we can move on to the strike wave.
That's right.
Not quite a wave,
well,
but a lot of strikes.
There have been so many conversations about how to define a wave recently.
Right.
That I don't know if we need to get into it, because I think it's probably fair to say this is one part of a larger strike wave over the course of the last year or so.
Right. So let's put up, what do we got? C1 here, Starbucks workers planning a strike, calling it Red Cup Day.
Starbucks calls it Red Cup Day, right? That they give out, it's one of their busiest.
They're striking on Red Cup Day.
On Red Cup Day, right, when they hand out the red reusable mugs.
Shows how much I've been going to Starbucks lately.
Right, to qualifying customers. So it's one of the busiest days of the year, and they're, again, this is...
111 stores.
Yeah, it's a lot of stores, and obviously this is part of a bigger thing that Starbucks has been dealing with, again, for a little over a year, probably 18 months, and Howard Schultz actually stepped back into the role as head of Starbucks after sort of flirting with a run for presidency by going on the Goop podcast with Gwyneth Paltrow. Shockingly, that didn't work out. But he's back, and he is trying to crush the unionization drive at Starbucks badly. So this probably doesn't make that any easier.
Well, one of the things he's been doing has been closing some stores.
Yeah.
When if they get if they're unionizing and they're kind of on the fault line of making money or not making money, where maybe you would keep it open. You're like, you know what, they got a union and they lost money the last 3 months. Let's get rid of him.
He's not messing around. Yeah, he has come in with a very heavy hand and done some really typical tactics. For instance, saying that sure, we'll do more benefits.
Oh yeah, breaking all sorts of labor laws. It's just explicitly saying if you're not in a union and if you don't support a union, then you get X benefits. Mm-hmm. You cannot do that. That's against the law.
Right.
He's just okay, arrest me.
Right. And the thing about Starbucks that's really interesting to me is I think of it in the context of the underemployment rate around the country, which I think affects a lot of Starbucks workers. Now, Starbucks has really good benefits in general. Mm-hmm. People have a lot of problems with the way that they're scheduled in different stores. They have a lot of problems now that the technology over the course of COVID, everybody is customizing their drinks to a freaking T and mobile ordering them.
And also customers have gotten so much worse.
Yeah, customers. So this is
not just their persnickety orders, but they're just jerks.
Right. This is not Ryan and I just messing around. This is the Washington Post followed Howard Schultz around on a tour of all of these different locations, and these big themes kept emerging when he was talking to workers. Customers have gotten worse. It's impossible for us to make these drinks as customized and as quickly. So he said, all right, we can get some more machines that'll help you do this faster, and it'll be easier for everyone, and you can spend more time talking to customers and getting to know them is actually a thing he said, because his original vision for Starbucks was that it would be kind of a community hub, that it would be this calming oasis and a real sort of espresso experience. He was inspired by the cafes of Italy to bring that to the United States, and if you walk in near local Starbucks, I don't know if you experience that depending on where you are anymore, but he has really pulled out of the all the stops to quash the unionization. But his workers, again, he offers tuition, he offers health care, but there are still so many problems. And I think it's indicative of how hard it is in the sort of way that people our age, you're an older millennial technically, right?
I think I'm Gen X.
You're Gen X. Okay. So
Gen X.
That counts, though. Yeah. So young Gen X and millennials have been conditioned to see their sort of career pathways and what that looks like when you're 25 and in a really bad situation. It looks like getting screamed at, dealing with, as Howard Schultz says, I don't think we're going to be able to keep our bathrooms open. That's a huge complaint that workers have. I always reference the Jacobin story that said we're being asked to function as untrained social workers. That's a huge, huge concern.
Right. Yeah, and I think people just want to feel a sense of dignity while they're at work, and that's the thing that is, I think, really driving the unionization campaigns. I think they don't feel like they have protections too. If a customer complains, let's lose you mess up a drink order. You're not as super polite to this super rude person as you should have been. they complain that you're getting docked and the manager's on you. Like they want some protections up against all these vicious forces that they're confronting. Because like you said, people are still doing all of their online orders that they were doing during the pandemic, but people are also coming into the store, yet you have the same number of workers. So how's that work?
I would love to know what Howard Schultz is like, how closely, and Starbucks in general, thinks about the ingredients that it uses in their food. And this is like industry wide. It wouldn't just be singling out Starbucks, but a huge reason that the American people are miserable is because of, frankly, what they're eating, like period. And that's a huge role is played in that by the executives who make these decisions. And Howard Schultz, I say that because in the Washington Post profile of him that was published last month, it's really interesting. He wants to turn all of the blame around from Starbucks to the culture at large. And there's absolutely truth that it's getting harder and harder to work in the service industry in this country that we're all a part of, and in this culture that we're all a part of that is increasingly miserable. And again, that's not just us sitting in this nice studio and saying it. There's statistics that back up the fact that our happiness has been going down. Arthur Brooks has put these statistics together, and you should go check them out. So it's of course going to get harder and harder for people in the service industry to exist in the service industry. And one of the ways that corporate executives can start dealing with that, they're just tinkering around the edges. That's all they want to do. They want to quash the unionization, throw some more like superficial benefits people's way, and not deal with any of the fundamental issues, because that would be a serious blow to their bottom line. God forbid.
Right, and anybody who's watching this who works in the service industry understands that. They don't need us telling them that. But if you don't work in it, stop taking your frustration out on people at Starbucks, at restaurants, don't do it.
Well, and
like
that's the thing.
They don't want to hear it either. Like they're not your problem.
Right. And people are people are just stressed in the country, and that's what Howard Schultz came away from this listening tour with. And we can just quickly pop C2 up on the screen because I think it's relevant too, especially in that kind of broader context. 48,000 California academic workers strike for higher wages. So this is grad students all over California that are striking. They say they're making and actually you see right there, we make about $23,000 a year. This is a quote from the story, and that's unlivable in many parts of California. That's from one of a graduate student in the history department at UC Santa Barbara who was talking to Al Jazeera. That person is the recording secretary for the Santa Barbara branch of the UAW, and that's one of the unions representing the academic workers, which, that's how that works out. But in this context, Ryan, you've probably covered a decent amount of grad student unionization drives.
I was actually in one.
Oh, you are?
Yes.
All right. So what do you make of this? This is, that's like we said, tens of thousands of people in California right now.
Yeah, I went to University of Maryland for grad school, and we had an organizing drive. It ultimately failed, but I had, I think, 98% card signers in my school. I was in the public policy school, so I was proud of that. It was a lot of fun, because you could see how the different graduate students would respond to you. Like when I would be organizing history grad students, I'd be getting a history of the labor union. If I was in the philosophy department, I'd be getting, what is a union? What is solidarity? Like just sign
what
a card.
What is work?
When I was in chemistry, any of the sciences, the math, I would just explain it to them, and they'd be like, "Oh, like more power, better wages, more protection." Okay, yes.
Right. The math works out.
Yeah.
The numbers.
Yes. They're like, yes, we're for that. All you basically had to do, it would take 5 minutes on the hard sciences, chem side, all of that. The literature people, the philosophers, just impossible. Just absolutely impossible.
Right.
Public policy, they're like, yeah, fine, yeah, sure. Let's do that.
So in California, they're saying they're demanding a wage that's something over, I think it's like $54,000 a year, which again, like California is a stupidly expensive place to live. Just stupidly expensive. It has driven the middle class out of California. And I think one of the reasons the strikes at these schools is interesting is because that's the policies of the sort of party that is a kind of a patron of organized labor in California. That the Democratic Party has made it extremely expensive to live in California because it's beholden to corporate interests in the same way that the Republican Party in California is beholden to corporate interests. California is a corporatized, almost dystopia in
Yeah.
certain parts of it. And again, like these broader forces, people are just like, why are these white collar unions popping up? And it's like, because
Can't afford to live.
things are miserable. Yeah, like you can't afford to
Rent's
live.
too damn high.
The rent is too damn high.
Hey guys, ready or not, 2024 is fully upon us now, and Sagar and I have been brainstorming ways that we can really up our game for this critical election.
Yeah, we rely on our premium subs to expand our coverage, to add staff, to upgrade the studio. We just want to give you the best independent coverage of this election, which is possible. So if you can help us out, become a premium subscriber today, breakingpoints.com, or the link is down here in the description video. It really means the world to us, and if you like what we're all about, this is the best possible way to keep us 100% independent, working only for you.